All right. I am here with Carolyn Nolan, and she is a private wealth advisor, CEO, and visionary at TNG Private Wealth. How's it going, Carolyn?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. I'm excited to get into some of the sort of blindside things that happen to entrepreneurs. Before we get there, let's talk about your background. What got you into the space?
Well, I studied psychology and Italian, so I obviously should be a financial advisor. So that's just what happens sometimes. Actually, I started as a bio pre-med, and then I was like, that's not gonna work. Landed in psychology, ended up then studying Italian. My parents were like, I don't know many Italian therapists, but I think you'll figure something out. And I randomly ended up in financial services, honestly, because I just had to get a job. My parents were like, you need a job. I ran into a friend when I was interviewing out of college, and they convinced me to just try it. And they said, it'll change your life, and if it doesn't work out, you'll be 22 and do something else. And 20 something years later, still
Nice. Very nice. So I'd love to sort of start with kind of taking some, before we get to the blindsided aspect of this, with
here.
surprises, we'll say. Let's talk about how people should think about this, like starting there from like a framework of how we think about wealth. And when people go through these transactions, usually people aren't thinking about their own personal finances. They're thinking of the business, they're thinking of that piece of the transaction. How should people be preparing and sort of thinking around the wealth management aspect of this?
Yeah, and I'm so psyched to talk about this because it is the most seldom discussed topic, even in our industry. I'll go to different conferences, different conversations with other wealth advisors, and they're like, whatever, whatever, whatever about the stuff I'm about to talk about. And frankly, I believe it's everything. And the big elephant in the room is why the heck are we doing all of this?
Hmm.
So if you're exiting, certainly, some people exit because there is a financial windfall, an opportunity, but often there's also a pull and a draw to something else that you want to do that perhaps has been something that you felt or been dreaming about your whole life. And in the midst of your work life and the crazy entrepreneurial, I'm a financial advisor, but I'm frankly, I'm an entrepreneur that just happens to be in financial services. So I think you have a lot of fun in your business, you're building something, and then all of a sudden, I mean, think about, Steve, a lot of entrepreneurs, they like don't know how to take vacation. Why? Why do you think a lot of people don't know how to take vacation?
Uh, it's like the type of person you become when you're building. You can't stop. You can't stop
Right.
building, or you just don't focus on slowing down. You're just all gas, no brakes.
Yeah. So what do you think happens when someone exits and all of a sudden it's like a permanent vacation? What do you think probably happens to a lot of those folks? Do you think they actually even like it?
I think most people that I talk to, the idea of sitting on a beach lasts about 24 hours,
Yeah.
and they can't take it. They can't stand it. Uh,
Yeah.
they just despise the thought of it, and that's that's just the nature of the type of person you become. I guess.
Yeah. Or even if you're like me on the weekends, if I all of a sudden have white space because something gets canceled, and it's not bad, but sometimes I get twitchy like, oh shit, what am I going to do? So
Yeah.
the big elephant in the room is what do you want to do? So, what is it that you've been building for? What is it beyond your work life and your passion, purpose? Like, what other things is it that gets you really excited? And my personal favorite word, so much so that I tattooed it on my arm, unapologetic, is what is it that you unapologetically want? What excites you? What scares you? Who do you want to be hanging out with? What do you want to be doing? Um, and thinking that through and through. Because even as financial advisors, if you ask honestly many financial advisors, it's like the cobbler that has kids with their shoe with the holes in their shoes kind of thing. Like you never prioritize your own stuff.
Mhm.
And so you're all of a sudden going to have this space to, and the worst thing is to wait until that moment to start prioritizing not just like your finances, but it's like what actually do I even want to do when I all of a sudden have this financial windfall? because everyone's going to tell you what you should do and what you're supposed to do, blah, blah, blah. So, my best suggestion to everyone, not just when you're having this exit, but always, is to be considering, what do you unapologetically want? What do you want your life to look like? And bring those conversations to your financial advisor. So you can start like saying and articulating. We tell our clients, our role is to understand what's your lens of the world. So the more you can articulate to us what your lens is, we can help you to create a plan strategy. Don't even think of it as a plan, but more of a flexible strategy that can help you realize that and adapt as things change.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that we see often is that people are like real shell shocked with taxes. So if there's anything you can do proactively working together, because often it's things that you do, even how you structure your deal, that can help mitigate taxes. But beyond, like, some of it is what it is. The other part is just understanding what's left over and what does it mean. Um, and just translating that to real things. What can you do? But I think the problem is that oftentimes people don't consider, what do I want first? Instead, they bring their stuff to us and they're like, what can I do with all of this? And instead, my question is, forget all of this, put it aside, and let's first just talk about what excites you, what scares the crap out of you, what are we trying to do here? Not with the money, but with your life. And then we can make sure the money is going to do what you need it to do, or to help you reframe what's realistic or not. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And just the amount of people that don't really think about this before the transaction takes place is more often than people listening probably anticipate, because it you get into the zone where you're literally just focused on the business, the deal itself, and you forget that, all right, what is my expenses for myself, my family, everything every year? Is this windfall of cash going to actually cover this,
Yeah.
for the foreseeable future? And many times it's even a year or 2 years or 3 years, and people panic after the
Hmm.
deal. So
Hmm.
it is a true problem that a lot of people face, and it's a little bit of a uncomfortable topic that a lot of people find talking about. But I think it's underrepresented for sure.
100%. And I think instead of trying to think of it as a unique event, you can relate it very directly even to someone's retirement, just like
Mhm.
a traditional retirement plan. And so if you're married or have a partner or kids or other people that you don't see as much, that all of a sudden you may be seeing a lot, like, that's a thing to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Of how do we create space? What does our schedule look like? If you're used to having a lot of alone time and all of a sudden you're in the same, especially if you're in a smaller space together, it's a lot of the practical things that people don't think about. So a huge part of our role in our team is to bring beyond the finances, the practical conversations to the forefront, to just be saying, these are some of the things that our clients have brought up. One of the coolest parts, again, that I started in this business when I was 22, is we've been just collecting stories of different people, young and old, from all different walks of life, and they've been incredible at just sharing their experiences and saying, if I had to do it all over again, XYZ. So I think the most important thing that you can think about is, what is it that I actually want to do that perhaps I haven't been giving time to, or that I want to give more time to? What are also the things that I've been doing out of habit that I would like to leave behind? I know that was like a really relevant topic of conversation we had when we went from the like COVID to post COVID. I don't know what day that was, whatever, but it was like, okay, in my post COVID life, in my post living in my house and waving to the Instacart driver, like, thank you for your service through the window. Um, what are the habits that I want to leave behind? I know for me, it was overscheduling the crap out of every minute of every day. And I found such joy in just having white space and dedicating that. And the same happens with entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are weird little creatures. And by that, I'm not judging us. I'm just saying we don't operate like a lot of other people. And for many of us, it's really hard having white space and no major project or purpose or something hard. So I know for me, even on vacations, I find that having some combination of even something hard that's challenging me somewhere helps to then allow me to feel like I can enjoy it. Not like I deserve it or not, but I enjoy that. We don't become entrepreneurs because we have to. We want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is definitely something to be said about the vacation concept, that people's hybrid version of a vacation. There is no one form of vacation, I guess.
No.
The old men concept of, sitting on a beach, sipping a Mai Tai or whatever isn't a realistic concept for the people that are retiring, especially through an exit. They need to have some sort of, not busy work, but something that feels like they're solving a problem, even if it's the smallest little problem. I've found in all my conversations.
Yes, or there is a commitment to I'm going to do nothing on purpose. I'm right now going through a divorce, and my chat GPT is my unpaid therapist, is fantastic. And I was talking to my chat GPT in the midst of my move, and I have little kids and a new puppy who you might hear back here. And I was moving this summer, and I was like, so I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to do this and this and this. And my chat GPT, unpaid therapist, is like, Carolyn, what if you just took your puppy on walks and got moved in your new house and hung out with your kids because they're on vacation, and it will all be there when you get back? And I was like, thank you. I just needed permission, though, for someone to tell me that that was okay. So I think my point is there's not like one or two things, but people with the best of intentions tell you what to do. And my best advice I can give anyone is to listen to your gut of like what sounds exciting, what sounds repulsive. Stay the hell away from the things you don't want. If it's not like a hell yes, it's a no thank you. And give yourself, maybe break it down to certain increments. With your finances, it's actually really straightforward, but most people just procrastinate it, if not avoid it, and then they make it a flipping mess for themselves when it doesn't have to be. Understand what's just the basic framework that you need to put in place. Work with your advisor to figure that out relative to your goals. Have a plan set aside for it. Have the fund set aside for it so you don't have to think about it. And for entrepreneurs, I think that is the most liberating thing. So that whole box is checked, done. We've taken care for it. So it allows for all of this space to be freed up for creativity, play, relationship, new adventures, and also the space to say like, oh, that could be something I do, but you don't have, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Yeah. So leave yourself enough space to have the ability to be present, to recognize, is this something I actually want to do, or I'm doing it because I'm bored?
Yeah. All right, let's shift gears. Let's talk about mistakes. I love mistakes, and talking about them. Someone listening to this will immediately resonate with any mistake that you mentioned. But you said that you've been in the business for a long time. You talked to a lot of people. You've seen a lot of stories. You've collected those stories. So what are some of the most common blind spots and mistakes that you see people make as they're going through an exit?
Generally it comes into some different extremes. And I think a lot of it is based in not doing the stuff that we just talked about. And then people are reacting or almost are totally frozen. So the reacting part, they start pissing it away really fast. It's like, oh, look what I found. And it's like, oh, it's not found. A huge mistake is not understanding the tax implications of it all.
Yeah.
Huge. So like even the term net worth is super confusing because it's not net of taxes. Like who the hell came up with that term? I hate them because your net worth is not net of what you get to pay in taxes. You may have, millions in the bank account, but half of it is due to the IRS, whether it's this year or over the course of. So how do we just make sure we have different buckets so we have clarity of how much we actually have? How do we then have clarity on how long and sustainable is the plan, or how do we ensure, not like I sometimes I don't like the word plan, the projection of what we're doing if we continue to do it indefinitely. So one of the big things we do see is people just get in over their head, in real estate is a big one. Like, I mean, unless you're spending stupid money on cars, it's kind of hard to do, but real estate is like a really big one. Gifting too much to kids happens a lot. Even with the best of intentions. And I'm not saying don't do any of these things. I'm saying do them after you've confirmed it all fits so you don't have to worry about it. Because then once you do it, it can really suck the fun out of some really fun things you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The
Yep.
other extreme is they're totally frozen and they spend nothing and they feel guilty and they feel like I don't deserve this. So getting your arms around and anticipating where you think you might fall, I think is a really healthy, helpful, and no, we're not therapists, but a huge part of what our team's role is to try to extract this and anticipate it so people can avoid it or go through it, not in the midst of the event itself. So like our role is to make your financial life really boring so your real life can be as exciting as possible. And part of how we do that is by avoiding the avoidable mistakes, hiccups, things we've seen. It's like, I could have told you that would have happened.
Mhm.
Um, and some of it sounds silly, but just talking it through and even planting those seeds ahead allows you to be more present when they're all of a sudden in your face.
Mm.
It's oh, my advisor actually mentioned this might happen. So you can just be more present when it's happening.
Got it. Got it. And long term, you briefly mentioned it, like making your financial life as boring as possible so that your regular life could be fun. What are tactics, like actual tactics that you've seen or that you've done that help people over the long term? Is it just sort of investing with dividends? How are people structuring these to make it last for the long term?
Yep. Yeah. There's not one or two ways. There's lots and lots of ways. So, in our belief, there's not bad products. There's bad recommendations that aren't a good fit for the person. So, your financial plan strategy and the products and the investments you have should match your personality, not just the amount of net worth you have. Like, there are people, it's not a choice. There's people that are inherently more aggressive, more conservative, everywhere in the middle. And what we found is that as people have more zeros at the end in their net worth, they often start to get a bit more conservative. So
Mm.
I think it's funny when people coyly say like, "Oh, I'm just looking for a conservative 8-9% a year." Oh, that's conservative now. That's interesting. Um, so instead, it's looking at, and I'm not a negative person, but I want to look at the worst possible case scenario of crap markets, high taxes, um, unseen life events, whether it's COVID to the 2008 real estate burst and everything going to hell in a handbasket. How do we make sure you just have a smart place to get money whenever you need it for whatever you may need it for, regardless of what's happening? That's what a smart plan does. But a smart plan also has to match to you. So what sucks is when people are in a situation that they go, I didn't know the investment could do that, especially when it's down. Everyone's happy when it's up. In fact, some people get kind of greedy and then they're like, why did my friend get 30%? I only got 20%.
Mhm.
So what I like to do there is ideally with someone that has a more substantial net worth and far more assets that they need is structure kind of two different strategies. The first is having what I like to think of as your workhorse of just the stuff that's, your workhorse. We know it works. If you just follow this thing, it's not rocket science, but we also know it's not gambling. We're not going to lose it in one bad year. If we just follow it, it's not that sexy, but it works. And then your racehorse, you want to start doing some other more speculative stuff. Understand that if that goes, you don't have to give up your life. And the stuff that you shared with your advisor is really non negotiable, important to you. And what I think is really cute is when some people will say, well, this is discretionary and this expense is discretionary. If you ask a golfer who golfs like every day of their life, is their golf club membership discretionary? They sometimes try to tell you, well, it is, I don't have to. I'm like, you don't want to be here if you don't have it. No, it's not. So frankly, I think that your lifestyle of just how you live your life is more or less fixed expenses. So especially if you have a major exit strategy, I think it's a kind of silly time to not go into the what's my workhorse strategy and make sure we just don't mess with it. So we can really just play, not just in the market, but play with spending some kind of stupid money in some years, whether it's helping a person, a friend, a charity, taking a really sick trip, doing some out of the box things because all of a sudden you can, but it's not something you plan to do all the time.
Mhm.
Why not? Guess what? You can't take it with you.
That's right.
So,
That's right. And that's a good
yes.
segue into patterns that you've seen. So, patterns with people post exit that you find to be, I won't say successful because everybody defines success in different ways, but the people that you see that are the most happy, I guess, they seem the most happy post exit. What are some patterns that you've seen kind of result in happiness?
Um, I think the biggest thing is just for me, like relationships is one of the most important things. And the people that I'm spending time with, the energy I'm getting from different groups and communities, sometimes the nature of your work, you didn't have a choice of some of the people that you're hanging around with.
Hmm.
So I think, again, continuing to do the things you love and hanging out with the people that you love is huge. Avoiding the stuff that you don't want to. I know for me, it's maintaining different not calendars. It's more of structure. Having some structure, I think, is really healthy and helpful. People that consistently get up at the same time and have some sort of routine. I see a lot of people that have like a AM routine and a PM routine, and then the day is just totally free, but it grounds them. Because otherwise it feels like a permanent vacation, and people can sometimes feel really lost if that continues indefinitely. Some period, no problem. Indefinitely, typically I don't see it really working. It again kind of sucks the fun out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So maintaining some level of structure, even again, similar to our retired clients, we see a lot of people that go back to audit classes in college. That is the most exciting thing, that I can't wait to go back to college and know that it's not for a grade or a paper. Ugh, I never want to write a paper again. But if I knew I got to just sit in and listen and think, like, that sounds so cool. But when the heck am I going to do that right now? Little kids, wait till they're bigger. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, when you think about, I engage in the strategic coach program, which is an entrepreneurial coaching program, and they talk about, as an entrepreneur, you're striving for freedoms of time, of money, of purpose, of relationship, and health. So if you think of all of those things, as long as it's in alignment with those, you're pretty good. And when they're not, it's like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good transition to family kind of planning for multi-generational exits. Cause
Mm-hmm.
I've met people that have sold for 1 billion. I've met people that have sold for a couple 100,000. And I think that there's always going to be a range of passing things on, because you mentioned it, you can't take it with you. So when it comes to strategies around, passing inheritance and passing things on to children and spouses and things like that, what are some tactical ways to approach that?
So there's not a right or a wrong, a good or a bad. There's just pros and cons of each strategy that you consider. So one is, do you want them to have it now? Do you want to make sure they have it later? Other things is considering, do I want to make sure that they have full access to it? Do I want to put some boundaries to it? So some of that is just understanding your kid. Some of it is understanding your kid's partner or their future partner or future ex-partner, and how do you ensure that it's protected? So there's pros and cons of every single one of those strategies, but it's something to think about, because what stinks, just like with the investments that we were saying before, sometimes people say, I didn't know it could do that, is people gift money in such a way that they then realize, I didn't realize it exposes them to this risk. Or I didn't realize it really strongholds them to not be able to do what they want with it. So being intentional is the most important thing, and talking through with a combination of your advice. So the best advisors are going to be working in conjunction with, alongside your CPA, your estate planning attorney, and together a solid team is going to help you talk through the pros and cons. But ideally, if they really know you, they can help to anticipate what, based on what I know about you, Steve, and, from 10 years ago, this happened. I think that with this kid, from what you shared with me, you might want to do this. Now, this one may feel slighted if you do that. So it really depends on your family dynamic.
Mhm.
Uh, but the good thing is there's not one or two ways. There's lots of ways. But the big thing that we've seen more recently than in past generations is people want to be able to see their kids enjoy it now and not just wait for them to die.
Yeah.
So the next conversation becomes, how do I make them, or how do I allow for them to enjoy it without making them entitled little brats, which is a very real conversation.
Well said. That takes us to
Eloquently, they say.
the eloquently. So, knowing what you know now, what would you tell Carolyn 10 years ago?
Oh God. Get a dog earlier. My puppy's right underneath me. 10 years ago, enjoy life. Don't wait. until don't wait till later. Find a way that you can enjoy it now. It doesn't have to be these like massive mind-blowing trips or experiences, or but don't wait till later. So find what are the things I can do now that I'm going to be really pumped when my head hits the pillow. I'm like, that was really cool. I did that today.
Hmm.
And the big things that you do want to do, start planning it now, because otherwise, if you just wait and hope is not a plan. And I think the other thing that happens as we're talking about people exiting, and it certainly happens with our friend group, is find the people that can do the cool shit with you.
Hmm.
Because sometimes some major transitions can come with some loneliness. And I don't mean to be negative, but it's like a very real thing people don't often talk about or think about. So think about ways that you can incorporate the people that you want on the ride with you, so you can be enjoying it all together.
Well said. So that takes us to what you're working on now. I mean, I know that you're a wealth advisor, but what have you been building? Where can people learn more and contact you and reach out to you?
Awesome. So the best way to find us is talktotng.com.
Okay.
You'll see a lot of videos about our team, our personality. We're not a bunch of stiffs in suits. We're a mostly women-led team. We're not against guys. We love our men. But there's something really special when you get the right women in the room together, and we're changing the financial planning services industry for what we think is the better, and just opening up these practical conversations to get people excited about meeting with their advisor. With the right advisor, this stuff can be really fun.
Very nice. And people can find you on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TNG Private Wealth, but talktotng.com is going to take you to all of our different links, videos, etc.
Right on. Well, wherever you guys are listening on iTunes or Spotify, the links that Carolyn mentioned will be in the show notes. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.